You could hear a pin drop backstage, and then it happened. The lights flickered. A steel door slammed shut. And in that split second of chaos, he stepped out of the shadows. Not security. Not management. Not some random masked lunatic looking for 15 seconds of fame. It was the Undertaker. And what he did next has the entire WWE Universe divided, furious, shocked, and demanding answers. Because when the dead man grabbed that masked attacker backstage on Monday Night Raw, ripped off the disguise, and exposed the identity underneath, the air left the arena. Nobody was ready for it. And I'm going to break down exactly what happened, why it matters, and why this could change everything in WWE forever. But before we go any further, let me ask you something. If you were face to face with a mystery attacker who's been targeting legends, would you unmask them immediately? Or would you make them suffer first? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I want to see who's ruthless and who's strategic. Because what The Undertaker chose to do, that wasn't just unmasking. That was judgment. Backstage had already been tense that night. Earlier in the show, another superstar had been blindsided. No music. No warning. Just a hooded figure darting through the production area and leaving bodies on the concrete floor. Cameras caught glimpses. Black boots. Gloved hands. A distorted voice whispering something nobody could quite make out. And every time security got close, the lights would cut out. Coincidence? Or something darker? Let's be real. In WWE history, when the lights go out backstage, there's usually only one presence that thrives in that darkness. But here's what made this different. The Undertaker wasn't the attacker. He was hunting the attacker. And that alone should tell you how serious this situation had become. Because the Undertaker doesn't chase ghosts. He creates them. Midway through Raw, the tension snapped. A cameraman caught movement near the loading dock. A figure in a black hood, pacing like a predator. And then, that chilling gong echoed. Not through the arena. Through the backstage hallway. The hooded figure froze. You could see it in their body language. Fear. Genuine fear. Now let me ask you this. When was the last time you saw a WWE superstar actually look afraid backstage? Type the year in the comments if you remember. Because fear isn't something you fake when The Undertaker is behind you. The hallway lights started to flicker. One by one. Like a heartbeat slowing down. And when the final bulb popped, he was standing there. No dramatic entrance. No long walk. Just presence. Pure intimidation. The attacker tried to run. Bad decision. One massive hand grabbed the hood from behind, slammed the figure into a steel production crate. And for a split second, the camera zoomed in on the eyes of The Undertaker. Cold. Unforgiving. This wasn't about revenge. This was about order. You see, when chaos spreads in WWE, legends step in. But here's where things got explosive. The attacker fought back. Not weak punches. Not panic swings. This person knew what they were doing. They ducked a choke attempt. Drove a shoulder into the ribs. Even managed to shove The Undertaker into a stack of equipment cases. The entire backstage crew scattered. And that's when the mask started to slip. Just slightly. Enough to reveal a glimpse of familiar skin. Now pause right there. If you had to guess, was the attacker a current superstar, a returning legend, or someone completely unexpected? Comment A, B, or C. Because when the hood finally came off, the internet exploded. The Undertaker didn't rush it. That's what made it worse. He grabbed the attacker by the throat, pinned them against the concrete wall, and slowly pulled the hood down. The camera angle didn't show us at first. Just Undertaker's face. And when his expression changed, you knew. This wasn't some random rookie. This was personal. The mask dropped. And backstage production cut the feed for 3 full seconds. 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours. When the camera returned, the attacker's identity was clear. And the look on their face wasn't defiance. It was hatred. Old hatred. The kind that doesn't fade with time. Now think about this. Why would someone risk everything to ambush superstars backstage? Why target legends? Why choose Raw as the battleground? There's only one reason. A statement. And The Undertaker just interrupted it. What happened next shocked everyone. Instead of delivering a choke slam, instead of dragging the attacker to the ring, instead of summoning that signature thunder, The Undertaker leaned in and said something off mic. Something only the attacker could hear. And whatever it was made them freeze. No struggle. No fight. Just silence. Have you ever seen someone look completely defeated without being physically beaten? That's power. Real power. He didn't just unmask them. He exposed them. Now here's the part nobody's talking about enough. This wasn't just about identity. It was about legacy. The Undertaker represents an era where respect was earned the hard way. Where backstage ambushes meant war. Where if you wanted attention, you called someone out face to face. So, what does it say about the current locker room that a masked attacker felt bold enough to operate in the shadows? Is this a new generation without honor? Or is it a calculated move to provoke the dead man himself? Tell me in the comments, is WWE more chaotic now than it was 10 years ago? Security finally flooded the hallway. Management was scrambling. Rumors started swirling that even executives were caught off guard. And you have to ask yourself, where was leadership in all this? Because when legends have to restore order personally, it suggests something deeper is broken. And here's where things get even more intense. The attacker didn't apologize, didn't beg, didn't deny. They stared right into The Undertaker's eyes, almost like they'd been waiting for this moment, waiting to be unmasked. What if this wasn't exposure? What if this was phase one? Think about it. A mystery attacker terrorizes backstage for weeks, builds fear, creates headlines, then gets unmasked by one of the greatest legends in history. Instant spotlight, instant main event relevance. Genius or reckless? You decide. Now, let's break down the psychology here. The Undertaker thrives on mind games, graveyard symbolism, darkness, intimidation. But this attacker flipped the script. They brought chaos into his domain. Backstage shadows, flickering lights, sudden disappearances. It was almost like someone was mocking the dead man's legacy. And that's dangerous territory. Because when you challenge mythology in WWE, you better be prepared to become part of it. The unmasking wasn't just a reveal. It was a warning, a message to the entire roster. You operate in darkness? I own it. You hide behind masks? I remove them. But here's something else nobody noticed. After security separated them, The Undertaker didn't look satisfied. He looked irritated, almost disappointed, like the reveal wasn't enough. Which begs the question, is this feud over? Or did it just begin? Drop a fire in the comments if you think this leads to a match. Drop a coffin if you think it becomes something even darker. Let's talk stakes. If this escalates to the ring, it's not just another match. It's symbolic. It's old guard versus chaos. Legacy versus rebellion. Order versus anarchy. And the WWE Universe loves nothing more than generational conflict. But here's where things get uncomfortable. Hidden motives. And WWE thrives on transparency of conflict, promos, face-offs, contracts signed in the ring. A masked vigilante disrupts that formula. And The Undertaker restoring visibility? That restores structure. At least temporarily. But I'll say this. The way the attacker stared back after being exposed, that wasn't the end of someone's plan. That was the beginning. Picture this scenario. Next week on Raw, the lights cut again. But this time, two figures stand in the dark. Has the attacker found allies? Has this become a movement? Because if one masked superstar could create that much chaos, imagine 3. Imagine 5. Imagine an entire faction built around anonymity. That would change everything. Now I want your prediction. Will this stay one-on-one? Or will it evolve into a full-blown war? Type solo or faction in the comments. What makes this moment unforgettable isn't just the unmasking. It's the message. You can't hide forever. You can't operate in the shadows when someone owns the darkness. And you definitely can't provoke a legend without consequences. The Undertaker didn't need a 20-minute promo. He didn't need pyro. He didn't need theatrics. He needed one grip, one pull, one reveal, and the entire narrative shifted. That's star power. That's legacy. That's intimidation. But here's the final, anger-inducing twist. Some insiders are claiming this entire scenario was management approved to test audience reaction. If that's true, then the chaos wasn't chaos. It was strategy. And if that's the case, then the WWE Universe was manipulated into emotional investment. Does that bother you? Or is that just smart storytelling? Because wrestling has always blurred that line between reality and performance. And moments like this, they live in that gray area. So before we wrap this up, answer me this. Was The Undertaker justified in taking justice into his own hands backstage? Or should he have let officials handle it? There's no safe answer here. Pick a side. Stand on it. Defend it. One thing is certain. The mask is gone. The identity is known. The tension is rising. And if the dead man decides this isn't finished, then whoever stood behind that mask may have just signed their own fate. Because once The Undertaker locks eyes with you,